Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 2 of FabTech Expo, special live edition of our Junkies podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy McKnight, joined by my co-host, Mr. Josh Welton.
Hello.
Our guest this morning, Rush Kane and Dabs Wellington. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having us out, Jimmy.
Hey, it's an absolute honor, man. I think it's been like 6 months since I actually got to talk to you last?
I don't know.
Something like that, yeah, way too long. This is great. How's FabTech been going for you so far?
FabTech just turns up every year. It's just so good.
I know, right?
Like, what a great place for everybody to be, network, and just drive our industry forward, man.
Yeah, this is literally, like we said before, this is the Super Bowl when it comes to welding, 100%, because there's no other time where you're going to get everybody together in one place to all geek out about the same thing. That's 100% what's happening.
Yeah, what a blast.
Sean, what about you, brother?
I'm having a little better. Is it on? I'm having a bit. Obviously, I've got everything figured out this year, being my second time, and I'm terrified.
I know.
But it's great to be surrounded by people that are just as into metalwork and welding as we are. Back home, it's just us hiding in a garage. Here, it's a bunch of other guys that like to go out and hide in their garage and are all passionate and obsessed with welding like we are. So it's cool to be surrounded by people that are of your tribe. You know what I mean?
Man, absolutely. So for those that may not be completely familiar, Rush, I want to start with you. What was your pathway to the arc? How did you find yourself into welding?
So I've talked about it like a few times elsewhere, but it's kind of a funny situation. So me, I've been a person that has loved music ever since forever. And when I was junior high age, I was watching music videos and I saw some bikes on a music video, and I looked at them and I was like, that is something that I want. How do I get it? And signing up for, going into high school, signing up for classes, I saw welding. And I thought, maybe if I took welding, I could build one of those bikes that I want to build. And so I signed up for those classes, didn't get accepted. They forced me to go to a trade school instead. So I bussed over. So I was in there with people from my hometown community in this shop all together, and it was a cool experience. And I was like, with my instructor there, I said, this is what I want to do. These are my goals. And he said, okay, if you take these courses and you complete them by the end of your senior year, you can do that project. And I said, no, I want to do it now. He said, well, if you prove that you can pass this off, then you can do it. And you can do it by the end of this year.
Challenge set.
And that's what I did.
Awesome.
So I got to build my senior project my freshman year, and everything from then on is that's where it started, and I couldn't get away from it.
Now you've kind of moved into a very unique position in your welding career. You've gone from starting with the bike to now working for...
So now I work for Sparks Motors, who we build all the we build these trucks and crazy things for TV. And so all those, they go on TV and people get to watch that. And it's just it's a crazy, big, wild experience.
That's awesome though, brother. It's awesome. I mean, it's very inspiring because it's not the normal path, and it shows that if you're constantly there, constantly ready, that these opportunities, you can literally fall into them, and then before you know it, your welds are on TV.
Yeah.
It's like there is no normal path anymore. Everyone's making their own way. With social media and the interweb shrinking the world. Because people ask me, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, you're not going to be able to do it how I did it. You've got to figure out what works for you, because in this day and age, it's 100 different paths. And what you've done, not many people are going to be able to do. What you've done, not many people are going to be able to follow to a T. I think that's the biggest thing for people wanting to get into it, is you get your foot in the door wherever you can, but then when the opportunities happen, you take them. you run through those doors when they open up.
I think social media too has also opened us up to different techniques.
Absolutely.
Stuff that we would have never seen before. You know, I mean, I know when everybody started walking the cup, like that's kind of very industry specific. You know, a lot of guys don't get to do that at work, and it's constantly dropping dimes. And then you saw someone do that, and it was like, wow,
I can remember
what is this?
message boards 15 years ago, and I still remember the one name. That guy was the one guy who posted walking the cup photos. It was like, wow, how did he do that? I want to figure out how to do that. And now it's like I remember too, and it was like 10 years ago, and there's a message board called the Jalopy Journal, and it had the Hokey Ass message board, and there was a weld porn thread, and before weld porn was a big thing, and Jesse James posted a picture on there of a weaved weld he did, and I was like, I want to figure out how to do that, but I'm not going to ask anybody how to do it. I want to figure it out. And in the meantime, while trying to figure that out, I came up with so many other techniques that worked until I hit on that one. And nowadays, it's like everyone wants to just ask you, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? And they demand you tell them that. It's like, man, just look at what other people do and try to figure it out from there.
I mean, literally, that's how I've learned certain stuff. I've even learned from you, like how to do that triple dab stack. I mean, come on now.
Well, working in a shop like I do, I learned through other welders whenever I started. I started as a temporary in a weld shop in the grinding room, worked my way into a welding position. And if you're learning from guys at your shop, you've got access to the best welders out of a pool of 15. You get on Instagram, you are looking at the best welders of a pool of a couple 100,000, a million, whatever. So you have got a much broader scope, and you can find guys to focus on, whether it's a guy building badass off-road vehicles like Kane, or artwork. I mean, that's when I first saw Josh, his work, and it was like, you can do that? No one else, I've never seen anything like that until I got on Instagram.
Right.
And then you can forging your own path, but you can piece together techniques. You can take something from Kane, you can take something from Josh, and make your own, make it your own completely, just by piecemealing certain techniques together and finding your own path. And then, you never know what you're going to come up with.
Branding ourselves now. Yeah. You are your own brand as you start doing this stuff, and especially when you get into the social media aspect of things, which does plug you into everything. It's you. I mean, you may be able to borrow techniques and borrow different ways people take pictures and photos, and it might inspire your own work. But at the end of the day, it's still you that has to put out that content. It's still you that people are talking to. And how you conduct yourself in that way is also extremely important.
Half of the best tricks that I have were happy little accidents. Something that you did completely by mistake and you're like, that worked great. It's nice to be able to see everyone else's happy little accidents, because otherwise it's, you're just sitting there messing around, and by happenstance you find this little trick. Yeah. Well, now we're all pulling each other's tricks, and it pushes one another to do more and do better, and it's exponentially helped the growth of the welding social media and everyone's talent pool. It's great to see everyone pushing one another, working with each other, and I blew up a turntable the other week. It was great to be able to, hey Rush, I always see you using these awesome machineries. What do I need? And that gives you access, right then and there to get the information needed. And it's I think it's the most helpful tool for the welding industry that's come out in a long time.
So when people are getting started in this, Josh, and you guys can chip in on this, I think a lot of people may see, certain accounts that have, say, over 100,000 followers, and people are like, I'm never going to get to that. They may be a little reserved into getting started. You know what I'm saying? What would your advice be for somebody that is just looking to get started in this, to not only be a part of the community, but learn from the community as well, but maybe a little bit hesitant to actually start putting their own content out there?
Put that foot first. You just get out there.
Just get out there.
And then drive and determination. Yeah. Nothing happens overnight. Your welding talent doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to get a large following or build anything overnight. If you're not going to put the work in, you're never going to get anything. You got to do the footwork.
Don't copy paste.
Don't copy and paste. Well, I mean, you see some of these pictures out there of welds, and I mean, they're absolutely fabulous welds. But 9 times out of 10, that was that guy's best weld that day. You know, he probably did another 20 welds that didn't look anything like that, and just that one that turned out sweet, he was like, that's for the gram. Yep. You know, everybody has those bad days. Everybody has, you know, the days when you're just completely dialed in. But show both of those days. Don't just lock in on the great times. Everybody wants to see that, you know, we are human. We do make mistakes. We do hashtag regular welds. You know what I mean?
To an extent, sometimes you do that, and if it's because people are so used to everyone posting the perfect weld, like you can post a good weld, and if it's not right, if it's not like absolutely perfect, you get so much crap, and sometimes you just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, and that's a lot of the reason why I think people are afraid to actually start getting it, is because they're afraid of what people are actually going to say, the negative side
Absolutely.
of it. The way I try to explain it to people is like, look at a bug light, okay? It's going to attract the bad, it's going to attract the good, no matter what, all right? You're out there, it just happens, okay? You have to be able to take that bad with the good. The little bit of bad that's going to come at you is nowhere near compared to the good and the positivity of the actual welding community that's out there. And before you know it, I mean, you're gonna have people backing you up, showing you how to do stuff, and it's usually the people that are that negative influence on social media, they don't last long.
The positivity will overwhelm the negativity on and it's usually the same couple. You're gonna have the same negative Nancy's coming at you, and that's because they don't have the drive and determination that you do to push on through. And they'll get bored, they'll pilfer off and go hate somebody else.
Oh yeah.
Let them. There's plenty of people to hate out there.
Oh, true.
You know.
So something too with social media, when you have that negative side, I see a lot of people get very discouraged and they get easily offended by something. But all those things, they come from a place of somebody who doesn't understand. Like at least 90% of the time, it's just because somebody doesn't understand. And instead of asking, what is going on there, or why did you do that, they'll just put it down. And it's a hard viewpoint to kind of understand, but if you realize that, like if anybody out there realizes that, it's just jump over it, just keep fueling your own drive and just drive past it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like don't let it set you back.
Yeah, you almost got to have your blinders on and keep pushing through to make sure you get there.
It's kind of cliche, but you'll get 99 people telling you, wow, that's really cool, you inspired me, I love that. But the one person who's like, man, you're such a dick, I hate that weld, that's what sticks in your head. And you got to be able to just be like, you know what, the guy's in the minority. Like Joe Rogan always says, you can't get a majority to agree on pizza, and everyone loves pizza. Actually, I'm sorry, that's a local talk show host that says that. He's like, you can't get 100% of people to agree on pizza, and pizza's amazing. You think they're all going to agree on something slightly less, objective than that?
Right.
So that's just, you got to kind of try to. I still have issues with it. I still do. It still pisses me off.
Yeah.
But
no, it'll happen to me. I'll be driving home from work, man, and one will pop in my head. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, he did say that. But I mean, it's one of those things. You just gotta just keep pushing it down and turn it into a good.
But
use it to fuel you.
It's natural for that to bug you. It's natural for you to be upset by that. But don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, I know that I'm not for everyone. I get that. And everyone's not for me. If I shook hands with 100 people, it's a pretty good chance that I'm not going to like a few of them. Yeah. But you don't have to make it vocal. It's fine and dandy that some people don't mesh. It's those select few that feel the need to come out and be like, I don't like you, and I've never met you. That takes it's a weird chip on someone's shoulder to have to make that vocal and be like, I have no idea who you are. I have no idea that you've welded for the last 20 years and you're very experienced, but I've got a 30-second window to get right in your craw. And let them have it. Water off a duck's back, I'm gonna do the same thing right after that post as I was doing right before that post, working on myself. If they had the same determination, they wouldn't be out there hating on other people's work, I guarantee it.
Beautiful. I don't think there was a better way to close this out. You got the quote, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that one quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Absolutely. All right. Well, before we get out of here, everybody go ahead and plug your social media so that everybody in the audience that's on Instagram can actually find us and we can actually help them through it if they decide that they want to start this journey.
I'm Josh Welton. On Instagram, it's Welder Assassin, and there's also Brown Dog Welding. And on Twitter, it's Brown Dog Welding.
Find me on Instagram at Dabs Wellington, and see what I've got going on. Come drop me some negative feedback.
He feeds off it.
I'm Rush Kane. I'm Kane Kid on Instagram and Kane Kid Welds on YouTube.
And I'm Motor City _McKnight on Instagram. Thank you everybody for coming and watching this special live version of our Junkies podcast. Give a round of applause to my guests up here. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, work safe and weld hard.